Roblox just accidentally exposed themselves in a single update, and it's causing absolute chaos in the Roblox community. This is because they recently released one of the worst updates of 2026, the dynamic head update, where they deleted every single static head and replaced it with a new dynamic one. However, while doing so, they also managed to screw it up and ruin millions of players' faces and avatars. On top of this, Roblox also accidentally made headless free, got exposed for replacing their creators with AI, and lost millions of dollars from investors in the process. And worst of all, there are now rumors of Roblox removing another core part of their identity, the iconic R6 body type. But why did they purposely make this bad update in the first place? And what's the extremely creepy theory behind this Roblox update? To understand the situation fully, we first have to go back to where it all began. Okay, so as you already know, Roblox recently killed off every single classic face, and this is to convert people into their new dynamic ones, which basically allows the face to move and make different kind of expressions. However, as we've already discussed in previous videos, people don't really like this change. Roblox claims this change aims to help users express themselves authentically, but the removal of classic faces does the opposite by removing a core part of Roblox's identity and style. However, recently they actually released this update, and what happened next was absolutely disastrous. First off, there were many bugs happening in this update, like faces not even getting coloring. On top of this, there are even more game-breaking bugs, like for example, if you use the silly fun head, it just gives you a free headless. Keep in mind, this is a 31,000 Robux head that you could now just get for free. How did they mess up this bad, bro? Oh my god. Other heads just got completely changed. Apparently for the iBot face, the actual shape itself is completely different. If I owned these items, I would actually demand a refund. What happened to them? But the worst part of this update was the changes to the R6 avatars. For those that don't know, R6 was Roblox's old body rig type. Nowadays we have the more modern R15 with more joints that can move, but a lot of players still use and love the old R6 version. And I would even say that R6 is integral to Roblox's identity, because if you look at the R6 rig, it just reminds you of the blocky Roblox style. However, here's where it starts to get controversial, because dynamic heads don't work on R6 by Roblox's choice, which basically makes them completely unusable or inferior if you use R6 or play a R6 only game. The base mood often doesn't show, and most 2D graphics become extremely low quality. I wonder if it's intentional, another way to phase out R6. And as we can see here, all these expressions, right, have just completely disappeared. Where are the teeth? And this has caused thousands, if not millions of players to just become completely expressionless. Well, except for this guy. Shout out Pursuer. Look how they massacred my boy. Ain't nothing to smile about anymore. It's so weird going to any R6 game. They're full of people with expressionless faces Roblox chose to ruin. I wonder if it'll hurt the performance of R6 only games. Players aren't going to like their avatars changing this much. And yeah, everyone's just looking emotionless and like stoic. Now here's where it starts to get a bit hypocritical, because in the past, Roblox has said that R6 avatars and 2D clothing are not going away.
First of all, R6 is a core part of Roblox's DNA, and we're not removing the API. We'll keep supporting that classic feel, even as we build higher fidelity avatars on top. Roblox grew up on R6 and 2D clothing, and we're keeping that history. What we're doing now is retaining the look you know and love, while opening the door for more expression, better tools, and a cleaner tech stack.
But these changes have led to greater suspicion. 95% sure Roblox is planning the R6 removal. They're treading carefully with their choice of words like in this video. We'll keep supporting that classic feel even as we add higher fidelity avatars on top. However, as this user notes, keeping the feeling doesn't equal keeping the feature. One thing they've noticed is in the Roblox Studio, in which they've noticed that there are two options for the animation packs, either the standard R6 or the standard R15. However, we can't trust that Roblox is preserving the R6 feature, because accommodating an R15 avatar with R6 animations will support that classic feel, but also will allow Roblox to just completely remove R6 and basically just force everyone onto an R15 avatar that can support the R6 animations. And this is backed up by Roblox themselves, who've said in the past that their goal is to move towards a single avatar system that can adapt to new enhancements. Of course, this is just a theory and it hasn't been fully confirmed, but the fact that they've lied about other things in the past doesn't make me confident that they're actually gonna keep the R6 avatars. And what makes this update the most outrageous is that the Roblox staff that posted about the dynamic head update, General Relish, announced this post using a static head. The staff member in charge of announcing the conversion to dynamic heads on the dev forum is currently wearing a static head, which is the angry diamond one. And because they were called out on it, they swapped back to the corporate Arthros slop after being called out for their hypocrisy. Now, some of you might be wondering, what's the big deal? I mean, we can just use these static face accessories that go on top of the head, right? Like, surely this just completely fixes the dynamic head problem. However, that's where Roblox comes in and just makes it completely worse, because they saw these static heads and decided to introduce a new UGC category called full mask. This basically auto detects all of these static faces. The creators don't have to re-upload anything, but then they made every single full mask accessory a minimum of 110 Robux. And you can't opt out of this, right? You can't just say, oh, I'll just not make it a full mask. They are automatically flagged as a full mask accessory if it covers most of your avatar's head. And what do you know? It's even more expensive than dynamic heads, which are only 70 Robux. I believe it's intentional to push players towards dynamic heads. This is absolutely intentional to push people to use dynamic heads. What's funny too is that none of these accessories are actually compatible with the Roblox dynamic heads now, because the positioning of the head is off. Yeah, this just looks completely cursed. They broke well over 100,000 accessories by screwing up the head position in all of their conversions. But here's the most insane part. People started loading Roblox's new dynamic heads into Blender and discovering that there might be AI involvement when making these new dynamic heads. Thousands of classic faces and UGC heads created by real human beings are being deleted for this AI slop. But why is Roblox doing this in the first place? I mean, they just seem completely allergic to listening to their community and having actual good updates. But could there be a more nefarious reason for these changes? First off, we have the data theory, which says that the true reason for this change is to push people to use dynamic heads, and by doing so will allow Roblox to harvest data from their facial tracking software. This is because dynamic heads actually allow for camera input, which allows Roblox players to use their own camera to match their in real life facial expressions with their virtual Roblox face. Now, because Roblox forced everyone to now use these dynamic faces, there are obviously going to be more users using this feature, especially since a lot of Roblox users already have done their own facial estimation age tech. So they're basically already trained to share their facial data with Roblox in the first place. And what that will allow Roblox to do is to harvest data from their facial tracking software. It always comes back to data one way or the other. With the ongoing AI boom right now, data is actually the most important currency because that's what the models train on. And with hundreds of millions of players using facial tracking, that allows Roblox to train their AI to be the most advanced for stuff like facial recognition, which might seem silly at first for, you know, a kid's game like Roblox. But when you think about the implications of this stuff, such as capturing your face, creating a facial fingerprint for people, and matching it to people using databases, obviously this technology can be used for much more, like government tracking, law enforcement, advertising. Roblox and anyone that decides to buy this data will now have your identity matched to how you look, what you talk like, and everything else about your physical appearance. And of course, if you don't want to use any of these dynamic head features, well, you'll have to pay 40 more Robux. So for a majority of kids who don't have access to that, you will use the dynamic head and face tracking and you will be happy. Be Roblox, make new faces nobody like, force players to wear them, charge people extra for hiding them, profit. And of course, the main reason for all of this is obviously for investor relations and money. For example, in the Roblox's investor relations documents, you can see that they're harnessing the power of AI. And this is the most creepy part. Here, Roblox says that over the past 4 years, we have embedded AI models to accelerate content creation and enhance their platform, which serves 144 million daily active users and millions of creators. But how are they training these AI models? Well, here's where it starts to get creepy. We have unique data to train these models, including 12 billion hours of human interaction data per month, not just video, but a 3D record of all avatar movement within Roblox worlds, including their facial expression, which is literally what we just talked about, along with billions of chat messages each day and tens of millions of users communicating through voice each day as well. Meaning anything you say on Roblox, it could be chat, it could be through voice, it could be with your facial expression, all of that is just being fed straight to their AI AI models. And no matter how much Roblox tries to pass this off like this is for self-expression, right? It's gonna allow you to express yourself in Roblox. The harsh reality is, it seems like they're more concerned about powering their AI than powering their users. And despite all of this, their Roblox stock is still down almost 60% in less than a year. It fell from all the way from $141 all the way down to $52. So although it seems like Roblox is trying to do everything possible to impress their investors with all this AI stuff, seems like it's not really working. So not only have they pissed off their entire community, they've also not impressed their investors at all. This is so sad, bro. It's really a lose-lose situation here. So what are your thoughts on the new dynamic head situation? Please let me know in the comments below and subscribe for more Roblox Explained.